Back to episode 14 of a Vulcan Brutal Start. Here we are checking our water supply here. It's all unfortunately still manual, so we're going to drop our tablet, pick it up again, and we're going to check the tanks, and they're still a little bit toasty. Grab this empty O2 container and kind of look around, see what's going on. Still a little bit of a mess. One day I'll get that vending machine out. Once I exhaust all the oxide out of there, I'll go ahead and pop that out and move it. Alright, so in this episode, we're going to try to do a couple things. The first is I'm going to set up some automation to collect cool gas during the night. I will use a large power vent connected to a large insulated tank with some logic and gas sensor, and we'll put it all on a transformer to try to isolate all those components. And to create a large power vent, we have to make 2 power vents, and we'll combine those together. Then we need some electronic parts and some plastic, and we have a large vent. The goal here is, since the window for the night cool gas is kind of short, I think it's about 7 minutes worth out of every 20, we want to move as much gas as possible into the large tank. Now, one of the reasons why, well, actually the main reason to use a large tank is that we will keep the pressure under 5 megapascals, and that is to prevent the pollutants which are in the atmosphere from turning into a liquid. And we use a large insulated tank so we can collect a bunch of gas before we hit that 5 megapascal limit. So once we have that, then that allows to tap off of it at any point and sort of desynchronize the night cycle from other activities. So for example, if I want to collect CO2, I can just pull it off that tank, or need to pull out volatiles or even pollutants, then it's easier to do. I don't have to wait to like a certain time of day to do that. And that means I'll have some redundant logic. For example, the filtration units I was just looking at right now, they have chips in them that it only operate during the night. And so once I collect the gas, then I just reroute those pipes over, and then I go ahead and have them run all the time until they hit their max pressure. And since they'll be working with a higher input pressure, that should make them a bit more efficient for running. Okay, so back into our favorite room here. They sucking up the carbon dioxide quite a bit. I'm surprised it dropped that much. So we're gonna spend some time injecting more carbon dioxide into this room, keep everything going. So then the other thing, as I said, the one thing I want to do is get the automation going, or start improving the automation. We'll do the gas collection. That's sort of a stage 1 for other components. Then we're going to continue the work from the previous episode to enlarge this area. And so we'll go ahead and fill that out, and then turn to a vacuum. Once you have a vacuum, we'll put sub walls in it, and then that way I can pull the walls off, section by section. Each section is like a 1x3, and so then I can pull the walls off as needed, so I don't have the pressure go down too low. And as I enlarge the room, then I can add more CO2, which will heat it up a little bit. Then I can add some more ice, which will cool it back down a little bit and get a lot of volume in here. I still have not properly addressed the air conditioning requirements. For this room, I've just been throwing oxide at it, so it's in my little AC unit that's running. It's been good enough, so we move on to other thing. Now this power line is what I'm moving I'll go into the other room, and from the other side I'll be able to tap into that so I can run the vents on the other side. So here we are still manually filling up our O2 tanks. And this all needs to be improved too. But we're sort of working down the list of things. So besides collecting night gas, the other is to collect hot gas. And so once it hits like 950 Kelvin, around there, then start bringing in and storing that gas. And in that case, since the temperature is too high, you can't get liquids at that temperature from pollutants, then you can go ahead and bring that pressure way up. So you can probably get away just using a normal insulated tank in that scenario. And with that setup, then that permits going ahead with, if anytime I need to tap like gas for a furnace or some other reason, I think furnace is the only real reason I need for hot gas, then I can just tap off that line at any time. And at that point, I'm desynchronized from the day-night cycles because I can get cold gas from one tank or hot gas from the other tank and just use those and not worry about what's going on. So to go ahead and continue building out the hydroponic room, I need doors and vents and all the bits and pieces, but turning everything off. And then the next thing we'll get going, which I start on it, but I don't complete it in this episode, is to increase the power generation. And so in that scenario, I'm going to have to build some more solar trackers. I'll need to close those new solar trackers so it doesn't get too annoying to fix them all when a storm hits. And so, because we're going to start putting more demand on all the power systems, so I don't want to run out. I'll probably go ahead and put another station battery on this side so I can run this half on its own station battery. And then I'll break this connection between the two that I'm setting up. And once the power situation has been improved, then the next, go ahead and improve the cooling system and run a cooling trunk line through the base. And so I'll centralize that, and I'll probably put it in this area or next or right off this room here on the other side, and or even use part of this room for that purpose. It's pretty big in here for now. And since I'll have the its own station battery with charging off the solar units, that'll be plenty enough power, and that will solve a cooling problem. I don't really have a lot of cooling requirements. It's just really this room, just keep the hydroponic going. So really it's just bringing in the hot CO2 and bringing that temperature down, and the little bit of heat generated from the plants and lights and stuff. So I have been experimenting with different types of cooling designs and mucking around with that. So I'm not sure. I tried some really fancy stuff and it didn't work out as well as I liked. I played with the chambers again and did pretty well with this one set of chambers, closed loop with the atmosphere. I got temperature down to like high 40s. Now, obviously, once you get, and I put a load on it, so there's a little bit of a load on the cooling mechanism. But as I said before, I don't particularly care for the chambers because they seem to consume a lot of space, and the plumbing, to me, looks kind of messy. But they definitely do function pretty well. So I'm trying to play around with, so how do I replace the chambers? So I have the two chambers set up. So I figure let me take down the condensing one and go ahead and see if I can't just replace that with discrete components, but haven't got back to that. All right, so here we are in a little hydroponic room, creating a vacuum. Now there's a small problem with this is I can't leave the room to continue the vacuum because, you know, I have to close the door, and if I close that door, then the vacuum doesn't work anymore. And well, okay, so I'm being stupid now. I just realized I could turn this one on and close the door, and it would continue turning a vacuum. All right, so this is dumb. I just didn't think of that. So I decided to move this here, that way I can run it with the door closed, but then I realized I could have done that anyway. Oh well. We'll do it the hard way.
Power low.
We don't have any automation yet in here, so we gotta go back to manual mode and go ahead and wire this up here and turn this on. Now, if you put like a large power vent in here, this room goes to a vacuum, perfect vacuum, in like 2 seconds. But it's a little bit of construction. If it was a little easier to build, you gotta build it and disassemble it. So I thought about doing that since I'm making one, but I figured it's small enough that I go ahead and just. So here we are. I'm just going to make sure. See, if you look on the down lower corner, it says nil, but it's really not nil in this room. And the old rounding of the display. So now it's probably so low that it's noise, and it's not really a big issue here. So what I'm doing, putting the inner walls in, and I'm gonna frame what I can while I'm waiting for the full vacuum in here. Doesn't really matter what's inside here. All right. Obviously, I don't want to put a cover there, and surprisingly enough, we hit a full vacuum. All right, so that didn't take that long. Yes, it's everywhere. Nice vacuum. All right, so now we have a full vacuum here. We go ahead and close it, and then we can pop these off and control the expansion of gas so we don't drop the pressure too low. Okay, so now we got to move this back. Pull up our piping. And at some point, we're about to pull that vent off outside, and we really don't need access to this room per se through this set of doors, so they're just there to make it convenient to create a vacuum. And then, you know, it's a long haul if I want, the base is getting kind of long, so if I want to go in from this side, it makes it much more convenient long term. Okay, we don't need that running. Okay, so I forget to pull the vent off. I will remember at some point to grab that vent. Haven't done any trading lately. Now we're back to using an automated door. Dancing around trying to figure out what I need to do next, and that's need to go ahead and grab some O2 tanks, or empty tanks. And clean all the junk out of my inventory too. Alright, so got this little thing. This is our CO2 collection unit. And that's the one that still pulls from outside, so it only runs during the night. And we will reroute that at some point. We're going to check our... Okay, so this is cold enough. And we'll move it over there. Yeah, it's hard to get it right down to one. You gotta wait a while to try to get it all the way down to 127, because as you get closer and closer to the temperature differential get closer, then the rate definitely drops off. All right, so combustor's empty. That's always, the filtration is always empty. There's never anything inside of it. Okay, so filters are getting there. I don't have any alarms on there. It's still all pseudo manual. Let's update our battery. All right, let's pop a wall off. See how much that drops our pressure. Not too bad. So we're over 50, which is what we need for the plants. I gotta move those items out, that shelves, and put them somewhere else. There's definitely some reorganizing need to be done here. All the junk I have. And now that waste tank dumper works much better since we're under 100 kPa. And changed my mind. So when we go ahead and hook up the venting on top, we'll need a little bit of piping for that. So we're almost out. I think we are out of insulated pipes at this point. We're almost out. Just kind of looking at how much I'm going to print there. That's going to be too much or not enough. Okay, so a little more. And this CO2 is at 127. So normally what you want to do is take that CO2, cool it down to say 20 before, or 25 before you dump it into the hydroponic room. So all right, so we're going to do a little bit of mining. Let's go ahead. We're going to try to grab silicon, although we're finding the silver. But we need, because it's the same color, but we need a lot of silicon, because the creating that large insulated tank takes a lot. It takes 5 normal insulated tanks to make a large, and each one of those requires like 30 silicon ingots each or something like that, quite a bit. As I said, it really doesn't matter too much when I mine. It's just sort of a habit mining at night. Yeah, I mean, that one pump I just turned off, I could probably leave that on all the time. Okay, so I need to go ahead and do some smelting here. Speaking of which, so I've been kind of also mucking around with some design concepts for auto smelting the basic ores, and just be able to toss it all into a hopper, and logic will kick in and feed it through, and if the furnace is not hot enough, it'll auto heat it back up, and which would be a lot easier using if I collect hot gas during the day. Otherwise, it has to wait until there's enough gas. But I think I'll collect the hot gas first, hook it into there. So all I've got to do is it drops in there. It has to do a couple interesting things to, because if it's not hot enough, you can at least degas it, and as you degas it, you'll be cooling it down. So at some point, you have to dump gas out of the furnace and recycle new hot gas and continue that thing. So a little bit of logic in there to make it happen, but it doesn't have to be super fast, because at this point, I can kind of do other things. And if I can just do a mining run, toss it all into the hopper, and have it feed through, then just have a pile of ingots when it gets done processing. And then if I want to do like steel, whatever, I do that manually. But that would save a lot of this screwing around where I'm just doing this. So I'm kind of playing with that. So at this point of the Vulcan run, now we're thinking about everything's about automation. How can I improve what's going on? And improve with automation also to go ahead and become self-reliant. So specifically, O2. O2 is the only thing I really have to generate. Everything else is not an issue. All right, so we got that running. Go ahead and grab some more. Everything works better turned on. And we just give it a toss. Now, when we do this, we're going to drop the pressure. Drop the temperature. So we're going to mix in some hot CO2 and sort of play the game. Now, the larger the room gets, the more gas you have, the less impact, like, a single tank of called warm CO2 has on the room. And I sort of like having larger volumes for the buffering effect. And we'll toss a bunch of oxide in here, and we'll sort of play the game where we just keep dumping more CO2 and then adding oxide back and forth until we don't go crazy on the temperatures. All right, so this is the the CO2 that we pulled off our collection tank. And we're trying to keep the pressure just a little under 100 kPa. This works out pretty well, just leaving your mining belt and just do the split into your hand, and then kind of almost like a dial on the temperature. There's a small delay. Try to keep the temperature just under 30. And we'll just dump the rest in here. Okay, so just about right. So about 130, and pull a little O2 out here, and we're good. Yeah, at some point I want to have the entire interior of the base in a breathable environment. That will require quite a bit of oxygen. I guess you need nitrogen to help fill that a little bit. And the oxide I dump in here has nitrogen in it. You know, removing the suit is way more convenient for eating and drinking versus unlock your helmet and open your helmet and eat, drink, and then close the helmet and lock the helmet. You just pull your helmet off. I'm not sure why. I don't recall anyone doing that before the need for hygiene. I know until this point, I'd always just open my helmet visor up to, when I opened it up and, all the gas blew in here, it blew some lightweight stuff in here. And so I'm going, okay, well, let's take out another wall. And while we're at it, we'll just take the rest of these off. Of course, I don't have a suit on, so I don't have a light. I believe people mentioned I can put a light in my jumpsuit and then that should light everything up, but I haven't done that. I have to continue the lights down in the building. I also need to put a sensor in here, so if I'm in the room, the lights come on. If I'm not out in the room, the lights go off. Sort of waiting for my hygiene to kick over and didn't realize it did. It was mentioned in the comments that wearing a heavy suit, which I'm now wearing, will increase the rate of, I guess, being dirty or requiring the hygiene warning coming on. I was looking for my suit. I stuck it somewhere. I was like, where's my suit go? So I was spinning around, so I found it in the shelf there. And I think it's a point where you should be hearing strange noises. And when I do voiceover, I have the special effects turned off, so I don't actually hear it, but I remember that during the gameplay. And I'm looking around, where is that noise coming from? Now we're back in the vacuum, so you don't hear it, but and I'm looking around, where is the noise coming from? Everything is fine, we got barely anything in these pipes. We got a lot of hot gas, super hot gas, we'll call it. And then I go, oh crap. I left that on while I was yeah. Good thing I was in the hydroponic room and heard the noise. I know the OT tank's empty, but I just stuck it there to get crap out of my inventory. It's pretty warm gas. I wish I had some more to smelt and whatnot, but unfortunately it'll drop on its own. Yeah, I know how to seal those up until they don't leak any heat. But another thing that needs to be done, it's just really not, with Vulcan, it's not really that big of a deal. That's why the that super hot gas I've been saving from the combustion or generating the water, I'm saving all that up because I think one of the alloys requires like 1800 Kelvin. And that gas is running at 2000. So in that case, I'll create a advanced furnace, wrap it, and make it a hot tank, and I'll run that at 2000 Kelvin. So, and that covers, some of the alloys. It definitely covers all the basics and steel and all that. As long as everything degas, it'll stay hot all the time. That's a little further down. Now I got to make all the bunch of insulated tanks at this point. Sort of the disadvantage of playing around in creative mode, where you just pop things around And, there's no inherent cost to anything. So if you want, a whole bunch of large insulated tanks, you just knock them out in seconds. But within game, then it becomes a whole different ball game. So that's why everything's focused on automation, including automating smelting of ore. Kind of a long list of automation here. So we want to collect cold gas. We want to collect hot gas. We are collecting super hot gas, so that's good. Then we need to, improve air conditioning. And once we have that, then we can extract the night gas into CO2 and lower that down to, say, 25. And then put automation to feed that into the hydroponic room as needed, and pull out O2 and start storing O2 in tanks as within the range, and then get all that going. And then and as I automate more and more, that's less effing around. Oh yeah, also automate the water generation and start storing that in a tank versus moving around. So specific for the hydroponic, once I have that expanded out a little bit, all the walls taken out, and I'll start making new trays. I'm going to run a insulated water line from one end all the way across the other, and then that'll be the water supply for the hydroponics. And then while I'm in there, I'll put a drinking fountain in there. So then once I go through all my water bottles, I shouldn't need water bottles anymore at that point. So I can, at that point, toss them all into the furnace, get rid of those. What if I can sell full water bottles to traders? Maybe. Not like they're not easy to make if I need them. All right, so here we are going crazy on insulated tanks. We can always use more insulated tanks. So the 5 there is for the big one. All right, so, to do all this, we need a housing, an IC chip, big insulated tank, a large power vent, transformer, so we isolate it so I don't spend 10 minutes trying to find the right device. We're going to kind of look at this, so I'll get nice and cool enough. So we'll turn that on and get that over. So we're doing good on water. I need to start, I think in the next episode, I'm going to run the line across and stop moving water bottles from one end of the base to the other. Yeah, I'm considering that one advanced furnace I have set up. Let's go ahead and, oh, there it goes, nice and big. Trying to figure out how big that thing is. I think it uses up a 4x4 frame. And then I'm thinking, which way to run this? Because I'm going to run this pipe on the other side of the base, so I'll probably put it in the middle there. Also, since the power vent's going to hang on that end, I can tap off that. It's going to have its own cabling, so. At least that's a single construction thing. I think all the old stuff is like single pop, and all the new stuff requires more and more complex assembly. All right. And of course, I forgot my plastics, so I can't actually do this. I'm gonna stick this in the middle, make it large, because we only have a short time frame, so we want to pull a lot of gas quickly. Gotta figure out how this works again. Okay, so we need a screwdriver. Obviously I don't build, now I'm going, oh crap, no plastic. Obviously I don't build large power vents enough. All right, we'll get back to that later. So we'll just kind of run this over here, and then we'll tap all these lines in the bottom. I'm kind of thinking, where should I put the transformer? Where should I run the power to the rest of it? And we'll stick it here. I like the switch down like that, and I gotta make sure I run the power the right way. All right, so let's do some wiring here. Connect that like that, and we drop in our housing. Well, actually, we didn't put a sensor in. Doesn't matter too much. We'll just stick it over here. Okay, now we just need to get our housing set up. Go ahead and set this up. So the script is basically just, you'll see it flash up. It's nothing really special. It just looks at outside. So if the temperature is below like 401 K, and if the pressure of the tank is under 5 megapascals, then turn on. Otherwise, turn off. And that's all it does. So, and we'll just label stuff just to, even though it's isolated, just, yeah, cold is the relative term here, but we'll call it our, that's why I put the little 127C there. So I got a little more time now. I don't have to focus so much on survival. I can just start naming things a little better, and get organized. Yeah, I'm starting to switch over from instead of using outside, using external. Well, yeah, because I think it sounds more professional. Although outside is probably a more accurate term. Alright, I'm just going to double check everything. Now I got nice pretty names to it. Now I just need a chip for this. And grab some plastic. I swear to God, I will never use a laptop again, or at least build a computer terminal station with a housing and all that. I just hate trying to push those small buttons and all that. I prefer the Gotta play the hit the small little buttons on there. All right, so we got our chip. Okay. Now I'm gonna guess how long it takes me to figure out that transformers don't work if you don't actually 2000 is way overkill here, but why not? I way overloaded my cables, over allocated the power on my cables here. Yep, then I realized, yeah, I'm gonna need, now I'm thinking how I'm gonna run this. I run it across the roof, or did I run it down here and cross from inside? I remember how to use a cable again. I'll just stick it in here.
Waste tank caution.
We'll swap out our waste tank while we're got an empty tank sitting right here. Probably just leave that in my inventory. I didn't really need to run all the way down there to toss it in there, but yep, and I'm going to get short on cables here real fast, so we'll print a bunch more of those up. And there's the wire right there. Now you gotta be careful, because I originally was going to tap into the wire to the right where the furnace is attached to, but that's on its own transformer and it's turned off, so that's not going to be very useful. And that's why I go, oh yeah, it's on its own transformer, so that's not going to work. So let's just back it out and we'll run it this way. Probably should color code my cables. So basically the cables that are sort of directly off a main power source, we stay red, but localized cables that are off a transformer would be a different color, so I don't accidentally tap off the wrong one. Not sure what color to make those though. And apparently there's some color for data lines. All right, so let's kind of run it over here. And assuming everything's set up right, then that system will start collecting gas at night. Okay, so now, as I said, the other item is increase the power situation, and I need to upgrade all those cables that I'm using for my
Hydration critical.
solar units to heavy. Double checking here, I don't do anything naughty. Turn that off, save a little power. Okay, so we're gonna make heavy cables. We're gonna make some more solar units.
Jetpack critical.
Get our helmet and suit off. It's sturdy. It's maintaining temperature. That's the other thing too. I need to set up a bunch of centralized lines, like have a like a 25 Celsius CO2 line that runs across the base, and then I need a cooling line just for anything tap off if you need to cool. So you just put it runs like 20 Celsius and you tap whatever. Technically, you could probably use the CO2 and the cooling line the same, but it's possible to spike the cooling line with a lot of load. And then if you want to pull the gas in for hydroponics, now you have to check the temperature because it could be too hot. And so I figured to separate those in different purposes. And then you could put different kind of gases, whatever you want to do. So go ahead and chow down while we're in here. We cleared our... So we're not really having a problem clearing the hygiene, okay, even with the heavy suit. So, I mean, it seems I have to come in here enough times, eat, drink, and hydrate, and maybe mess around a little bit with the plants and unload stuff that the hygiene clears reasonably well. I think the potatoes might be a little OP. They could probably tune those down a little bit. Okay, so since we're under 100 kPa, those are working pretty well. Drop our soup back on and turn off the light because we haven't got around to automating that yet. Fortunately, just put a housing with a chip in it. It's 50 watts of power. So you need to be able to save at least that much, or it's kind of pointless. I think the lights probably use a lot more than that, especially if I put more lights in that room. And it's full enough. Turn that off. Doesn't really matter too much. Okay, so temperature is dropping. Okay, I think it's enough. Try to clear out my inventory a little bit. Throw those there, and yep. Water is those potatoes are doing pretty well. I know. So ferns will do double the O2 rate, and darker ferns will do like, I don't know, 10 times that. And a storm broke in. You see a little dust particle floating through the room there. We'll poke outside. They don't seem to last that long on Venus. I'm sorry, Vulcan. So it's kind of, they don't last that long, and we'll clear out some stuff. And it's not really any advantage. I mean, like on Venus, when a storm hits, the temperature drops by 100 Celsius, and so you can sometimes maybe worth collecting the gas during the storm. It helps, but it's so, can you collect enough to be worth the effort of doing all that work? And the storms happen like every 3 days. It'd be a different story. So we'll kind of here and just do a little bit of filter work while waiting for the storm to go away. Still haven't, it's on my list to build a weather station too, so I just haven't got to that. Yeah, I could put 4 filters in there. Just 3's probably more than enough for now. I wish I could put 2 batteries in here. Then I can run a standard one and Omni battery. Probably get to the point I can switch to an Omni battery. That should last long enough while mining and worry about the battery thing anymore. Alright, so. But right now my plate's kind of full automating the other stuff, so. Really sort of the driving force is automating water production. So, which means you have to automate hydroponic room, which means you have to be able to collect CO2 and cool it, which I mean, so I get the collection part, at least the collection of cool gas or reasonably cool gas ready, but I still need to upgrade my air conditioning system, which could be just taking what I have and replicating it on the other side, just have 2 of them going. It's probably good enough for what I'm doing. And just have like the first stage is phase change and the second stage is just the standard AC system, and just go with that for now versus trying to get too weird with a double phase change system. And since we have a storm, we're going to need to get up there and fix those solar units. So I believe it takes like 1.5 rolls of duct tape at this point, and then and no storm. We'll check on that big tank, make sure it's filling. And we hit 0% because of the amazing issues of floating point. All right, so we got our. We need to get a lot more solar. We got a little more room space now. And I still have those 3 turbines that I've not connected back yet. They're still just free floating there. One day. All right, so we're collecting gas. That's good. Got quite a bit. So we pull quite a bit pretty quickly with a big vent out there. And that's so. And the plus side of that is I can be aggressive of pulling out gas to filter it. And this is the other crap. This is the current system I have right here. I'm looking at that. So what I'll do is I'll route a pipe, instead of having its own vent, I'll just have it tap off here, or maybe just re-replicate it and put the units inside this room here, and that'll free up room in the main area. And while we're out here, I'll go ahead and grab this vent before I forget. Just toss it in there, so next time I'm in there I'll just mount it. So I really shouldn't need to use that door for a while. Alright, so I'll turn on the old lenses here and have our mining tool, and let's do some mining. Actually, we'll turn on our beacon. You know, really haven't had a problem finding the base because I can wait through the daytime and pretty much find it at this point. Just look for the spot where all the holes in the ground, and that's where the base is pretty much sitting at. So just sort of collecting whatever. It's mostly sort of a mental break to keep up with the stuff I need. All right, so that's the end of this episode. And sorry for the delay, but I've got a lot of summertime family stuff going on, so it's slowing things down a bit. And thinking next month the rate's going to increase quite a bit. Things settle down at home. You notice I made a couple of dips into the lava there. I was trying to get some more really close to the ground there, and dipped in there a little bit, unfortunately, mucking up my nice suit. All right, until next time, see ya.